My name is Florence. I am 36 years old, and I live in a blended family that I treasure deeply. I have a 10-year-old son, Victor, from my previous marriage, and I am married again to my husband Peter, who is 38. Together, Peter and I also have a little daughter named Nancy. She is only 2 years old, full of energy, and the light of our home. I met Peter 5 years ago. At that time, I was 31 and afraid to open my heart again. But Peter felt different. We spent weeks talking on the phone every night, learning each other's stories, secrets, and dreams. When we finally met in person, everything clicked in a way I didn't expect. He was kind, gentle, patient, and seemed ready to build a real future with me and my son. I felt safe choosing him. I believed he was a mature man who had left his past behind. From the outside, our life looks peaceful. We have a warm home, 2 beautiful children, and a routine that many people would call happy. But inside my heart, there is a soft, persistent shadow. It is the shadow of a woman who came before me. A woman Peter once loved deeply. A woman I never met, yet somehow she stands between us, quietly and silently. And sometimes, even in our happiest moments, I feel her presence more than I should. Life with Peter has always looked steady from the outside. We share the same routines every morning, preparing breakfast together, getting Victor ready for school, taking care of little Nancy, and managing the simple rhythm of a family of 4. Peter helps when he can, especially with Nancy, and I appreciate that. I work, cook, clean, and balance everything as best as I can. There are days when I feel tired, but I am grateful that Peter accepted Victor without hesitation. He treats him kindly, and for that I always felt safe choosing him as my partner. But even in our quiet routines, pieces of Peter's past began to appear like small cracks in a wall I didn't want to examine too closely. I knew he had lived with a woman for 3 years before meeting me, but he never spoke much about her. And then there was his first love, the girl he adored when he was only 16. His mother talked about her often, almost too fondly. She would say Peter loved that girl more deeply than anyone he met later. I tried to smile and let those comments go, but they stayed with me. Peter rarely mentioned his past relationships. His silence made them feel heavier, almost alive. I kept telling myself it was nothing, but slowly, quietly, insecurity began to grow inside me. Our life looked ordinary and peaceful, yet emotionally, something felt fragile, like a truth waiting to be faced. When Peter invited me to see his apartment for the first time, I expected something warm, something that showed the same care he showed me. Instead, when I walked in, I felt a strange heaviness. The place looked abandoned by life. The furniture was old, dusty, untouched for years. The walls needed repairs. There were empty beer cans hidden in a corner, and the whole place felt like a space someone lived in but never cared about. Then I saw it. On a small shelf, there was a faded, handwritten card. I picked it up before I even realized what I was doing. It was from his first girlfriend. A message she had written when he went to the army. After more than 10 years, he still kept it. My heart tightened. Why would a grown man, married with children, hold on to something like that? A part of me didn't want to think too deeply about it, but the feeling stayed with me. Everything got worse on New Year's Eve. Peter and I took Victor to the city center to see the lights. Families were laughing, music filled the air, and I felt happy, until I noticed Peter suddenly stop walking. He stared at someone in the crowd, his expression changing instantly. His face softened, then broke. I followed his gaze and froze. It was her. His first love. She was standing beside her husband, smiling, unaware that Peter was watching her. Peter walked a little away from us, as if pulled by an invisible string. I stood there holding Victor's hand, feeling like I had disappeared. That moment stayed burned in my memory. After that night, Peter began acting strange. Distant. Quiet. He kept asking her brother about her, where she worked, if she was happy, how her life was going. Each time, my anxiety grew. Why did he care so much? Why now? When I asked him, he said I was imagining things. But I wasn't imagining the look in his eyes when he saw her. His mother didn't help. She often spoke about how much Peter had loved that girl, how heartbroken he was when she left him. Each story felt like a knife twisting deeper. I started to feel like a shadow in my own home. Like I was only filling a space someone else left behind. And for the first time, I asked myself the question that terrified me. Did Peter ever love me the way he loved her? See. The days after New Year's felt like walking through fog. I tried to continue life as usual, cooking, working, taking care of Victor and little Nancy, but inside me, something was slowly collapsing. Every night, when the house was quiet, my mind replayed that moment in the city center. The way Peter froze. The way he looked at her. The way he forgot I existed for those few seconds. It haunted me. I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, thinking about a woman I barely knew, yet felt I could never compete with. She seemed to live in the space between my husband's breaths. She lived in his silence, in his distant eyes, in every moment he drifted away from me without explanation. I felt abandoned, not physically, but emotionally. And that was worse. Peter became quieter each day. He smiled less. He barely touched me. Conversations that used to last hours now ended in minutes. I asked him simple questions, but he answered without looking at me. Every time he avoided my eyes, it felt like proof that he was thinking about her again. Inside me, questions screamed day and night. Does he still love her? Am I only replacing the girl he couldn't have? What if he regrets being with me? What if he never moved on at all? I finally gathered the courage to talk to him again. One night, when the kids were asleep, I sat across from him at the kitchen table. Peter, I asked softly, do you still think about her? He didn't answer immediately. He looked at the table. Then at his hands. Anywhere but me. That silence cut deeper than any truth could have. I felt something inside me break, not violently, but quietly, like glass cracking under pressure. I took a deep breath, my voice shaking as I said, if you still want her, if your heart still belongs to your past, then you are free to go. But I won't stay with a man who looks at another woman the way a husband should look at his wife. Peter finally looked at me, but there was hesitation in his eyes, hesitation that told me everything. He said, you're imagining things, but the uncertainty in his voice betrayed him. And that was the moment I knew. My heart shattered, yet something else awakened inside me, my sense of worth, buried under years of doubt. I realized I could no longer live in the shadow of a love that existed before me. Leaving Peter wasn't a sudden choice. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, an understanding that grew inside me day after day, like a truth I could no longer ignore. One morning, after another night spent crying in silence, I woke up knowing what I had to do. I packed my things slowly, carefully, without anger. I looked at Victor and Nancy and realized they deserved a mother who felt loved, not a mother who cried in the bathroom so they wouldn't hear. I told Peter I was leaving, not to punish him, but to save myself. He looked confused, maybe even regretful, but the pain between us was already too deep. I couldn't continue living in a home where a memory, someone else's memory, was stronger than my presence. I moved into a small apartment with the children. It wasn't big, but it was peaceful. Victor stopped asking why I looked sad. Nancy giggled more. And for the first time in a long time, I could breathe. I started therapy, talked to friends I had slowly drifted away from, and spent quiet moments rediscovering myself. I learned to take walks alone, to cook my favorite meals, to look in the mirror without comparing myself to ghosts. Peter called a few times. He said he missed me. He said he was sorry. I believed him, but I also knew apologies couldn't fix everything. I could forgive him, yes. But I could not live the rest of my life competing with a love that existed long before me. Choosing myself wasn't selfish, it was survival. And now, when I look at my children sleeping peacefully, I know I made the right choice. Love should make you feel chosen, not compared. Now, when I look back at everything, I finally understand lessons I should have learned long ago. I understand that the past, if we give it too much power, can destroy the present. I spent years trying to compete with a memory, trying to win a place in a heart that was never fully mine. And for a long time, I believed that if I tried harder, loved more, stayed quieter, or changed myself, things would get better. But love doesn't work that way. Now I understand that sometimes love means walking away, not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring about yourself. No one deserves to feel like second place in their own marriage. No woman deserves to sleep next to someone who is still dreaming about someone else. And no heart deserves to be treated as a substitute for a love that came before. Healing didn't start the day I left Peter. It started the moment I chose myself, the moment I said, I am enough, even if I am not enough for him. That is when my strength returned. That is when peace slowly found me. I am still healing, still learning, still growing. But today, I stand with calmness and clarity. Letting go isn't losing. Sometimes it is the only way to finally become whole again. If this story touched you, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you for learning English through stories with me. I hope to see you again in the next video.